If you guys don't know of Joe Dispenza, I would strongly recommend to listen to some of his work, because what he has done for me is to show me the miracles that I have had in my life. He has given me the scientific side of it to show me exactly what happened with what I did. It was from Greg Braden, and he was discussing a book in the Bible that, well, it's not in the Bible. It's the book of Thomas, the book of Thomas 106. Now, in the book, it doesn't explain what he's talking about. It says, Jesus said, when you make the two one, you will become the Son of Man, and when you say, mountain, move away, it will move away. Now, in that little scripture, it doesn't really say what the two are, but he explains that the two are emotions and the thought, like the faith part of it. So he explains more and more about this writing where you could, you'd have to do a little research and a little digging to find where it connects, what those two things are. He also has some other scriptures or other things that he explains about the emotion part of it. So a lot of times when I used to pray, it would be just praying for something. And while I'm praying for it, I'm still feeling like, I'm the lack of it. Like, I'm praying for money or praying for something to happen. God, please grant me this. But I'm still feeling like I don't have that thing. And what he was explaining in the scripture was, if you're having faith that that thing is going to happen, that thing has happened, and then you feel that emotion that comes with it, that's when the magic happens. That's when God is able to allow those things to happen. Those miracles can start. And when I think back on the miracles that have happened in my life, that is exactly what happened. It was when I had that feeling inside that, it's done. It's done. There's nothing else I need. I don't even need to pray about it anymore because it's done. And I felt the relief that it actually happened. And so when looking at Joe Dispenza and looking at other things that I've read or listened to, I'm like, so it's the combination. You've got to feel that it has actually happened. Not, it's going to happen. And you could find out in somebody's wording whether they truly believe it's happened or not. If they say, yeah, it's coming, then they don't believe that it's happened. So it may take a bit longer for them to actually receive that miracle. But if you hear somebody say, yeah, it's done. It's done. The cancer, the illnesses, whatever the case may be, it will happen. It will happen. But the doubt can't be there. And those of you that know Scripture, and it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're not a Christian. All children are God's children. If you believe that thing has happened, you have the faith that thing has happened, you feel the emotions that come when that thing happens, then it will happen. It will definitely happen. There was a video that I had shared early on that I can't record, but it basically was talking about the energy, that we lose all of this energy when we think about our cell phone, we think about our email, we think about our enemies, we think about all these different things. And then also the things from the past. Now that's on a different part where he was talking about that, but also the things from the past. If you had parents that said negative things about you, or if you had people that talked about your complexion, or people that talked about your nose, I've got a big nose, or I've got this, or, you'll never, own anything. You'll never, make it big. You're not smart enough. All these things also, all of your attention going to that is also taking attention away from yourself. And he goes through this whole process, and when you can get to a point to where you're no longer focusing on these different things, now you're able to focus on within. And that's where all of the possibilities and all these different miracles and all these different things can happen in your life. And now here's another miracle. So this is the message that I had gotten from this retreat, was where your attention goes is where your energy flows, where your energy goes. And I had already scheduled for a lot of our speakers to be on here. The speaker today is Erin Patten. Now, Erin Patten used to be part of the Sunshine family when Sunshine was here. Like, she, assisted in I think she was one of the vendors or something for some of the meetings. She would attend the meetings. She knew Darren and Sherman. So she's part of the Sunshine family. And she was going to speak earlier on in the 120 days. So last month she was supposed to speak. But then when I realized it was Mother's Day, I went ahead and pushed it back. So she agreed to do it this week. And I asked her to send me her title. And when she sent me her title is Where Focus Goes, Energy Flows, Reclaiming Your Power in Work and Life. Now, if that's not God, I don't know what it is. Because that's all I've been thinking about all this month. And I was actually thinking, I was like, oh man, it would be nice for us to start focusing on that, because this topic, where your attention goes, your energy flows, it encompasses everything, absolutely everything. It's health-wise. It encompasses your mental capacity, that have Alzheimer's, people that have diseases. All of these different things. Our health, what we're eating. I would even say it surpasses what we eat, what we do, and all these different things. Our attention is so important that I'm going to incorporate that with these calls so you guys could learn more about it, and you can go out and do your own research with it, because that's how important I feel like it is. And as important I feel like for food and, what we eat and all, I feel like that's important too. But when it comes to our attention and what we focus on, I would say that is top. That is definitely top. Okay, well, beautiful. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so I'm going to introduce our speaker for today. As I mentioned a minute ago, Erin Patten is a part of the Sunshine family legacy, because she has been knowing Sunshine, Darren, Sherman, all of our peeps. And she's a dynamic keynote speaker, metaphysical master, and founder of the Meta Business World, whose transformative methodology fuses ancient metaphysics, tools, and innovative business strategies. Her mission is to help BLK, which is beautiful, loving, and knowledgeable women, align their professional ambitions with inner peace and divine purpose. That is exactly what we're looking to do here. Dissolving burnout and systematic dis-ease, to lead with clarity, confidence, and conviction, all while cultivating spaces of deep healing, inclusivity, and equitable impact. And I am so honored and happy to introduce Erin Patten as our speaker today. Hello, Erin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Beverly, so much for that introduction. You guys, I was just reflecting before this call on how far I've come since I started attending these morning classes. I have to say that, and I'll show you guys, some evidence too later on, that when I moved to Houston in 2018, I tapped in with the Sunshine community immediately, because I was looking for a place in a space where there were conscious-minded, elevated thinking, good eating people. and I found my home at Sunshine's. Additionally, and Sunshine was so welcoming in me selling my hair products. So I'll show you guys that soon too. My first company, I had a plant-based beauty brand, and Sunshine's carried my hair products. So this is really feeling like a full circle moment for me, and I'm just so grateful to be here with all of you and sharing where I'm at now and how the work of conscious living can drastically and for certainly improve and amplify your life and your well-being. So just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Oh yeah, so this is my brand, just me, Erin Patten, and my motto and my mantra is change your energy, change your life. And we'll get more into that because I want to pose the question for you guys. It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to jump in and answer now, but I want to really invite you to reflect on what is the one area in your life that will forever change your health, your wealth, and your happiness. And so as you guys kind of reflect on that, I'm going to just share a little bit of my story. So that's me. and and this is me too. This was literally like exactly 10 years ago. In 2015, I was literally probably this time of year, May of 2015, I graduated with 2 masters from Harvard. And you would think I went to Harvard Business School, Harvard Kennedy School, one on the right and one on the left. And you would think that, oh, damn, like, she's on top of the world. She done made it. She went to Harvard, all those things. But, little did I know that this was literally like one of the lowest points in my life. And just briefly, I say that because to get to this point, I felt like I had to compromise so much of myself. I was, masking. I was, changing everything about how I spoke, how I showed up, how I acted to be accepted and liked by people around me. And it wasn't something that just happened at Harvard, just so you guys know. So I can't put all the blame on Harvard, but certainly it was a program that was really, I would say, amplified by my experience there. And these are just some pictures too of just showing me. And even though I was living this, what people would think, this American dream life, like I'm traveling to the Middle East, I'm on the right, like I'm fishing for piranhas in Brazil on the left. I'm really just exploring myself, exploring the world, and really and this was just still kind of the pieces of me that I'm just kind of putting together. Again, this is me in in Israel on the right, in Abu Dhabi on the left. I was just wanting to talk about the hair products because the Deo on the left is my company. So after I graduated from Harvard, like I said, I was at a low point and really kind of depressed, unhappy, and wanting to really connect more deeply to myself and my identity. So a couple years after I graduated, I launched this beauty brand. As you can see, my hair is completely different from how I was at Harvard. Very big, afro, curly, natural, because I started going on this natural journey. So in this picture here, I'm vegan. I'm pushing beauty, natural beauty products. This call will be recorded. Really trying to connect back more deeply to myself, the identity that I felt like I lost by the time I graduated from Harvard. And so, as I was going through this kind of natural journey, I was really also exploring my spirituality and understanding, I know we've talked about it on these calls before, my life beyond the church. And so I had showed you guys a picture of me in Israel on the right here, because this was actually the moment, when I had gone to Israel. I was literally on the Jesus tour. Went to Bethlehem. I went to the Mount of Transfiguration. I was in the Mount of Olives. You name it, the places in the Bible. I put my feet I bathed in the Jordan River. I was really on that Jesus path because I was doing everything that I could to connect, more deeply to God and Jesus. And, as I was there in Israel, it felt fake to me. And even the experiences that I had, I was like the only person of color or a melanated person around. None of it felt safe. None of it felt real to me. And so I distinctly remember after I left Israel, and even while I was in Israel, I was praying to God every night, please help me understand more deeply who Jesus is. What is this? What is this? And this is, really when my metaphysical path and my metaphysical journey started to unlock. And I actually, as that was unlocking for me, I was invited to be a keynote speaker at my undergraduate business school, University of Texas graduation. As you can see here, I'm speaking. And I actually started to explore Tai Chi. I became a Tai Chi master. Right here on the left, I'm in Korea, earning my Tai Chi master designation. On the right, that's me teaching a yoga class. I became a certified yoga instructor. And God just really started to show me different pathways of building a deeper connection with God and not having to rely on priests or preachers or even Jesus to get to God. And no disrespect to those folks and to those paths. I love Jesus. I love what he represents. However, I needed to connect with God directly, and this is what my metaphysical path started to teach me. And so, yeah, this is just more of me kind of being me. And then I wanted to show this picture on the left. It's actually at Sunshine's. This is maybe early 2019. I was leading a juicing workshop with Darren and Sherman, and you can't see Sunshine's face, but you can see his body in the back. And my mom and my son on the right, because actually this was right before I got pregnant with my son, and I was actually at this juicing workshop with my mom because, at this time I had moved back to Houston away from Detroit. I was living in Detroit doing my hair products because my mom actually attempted suicide and was then diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar, after my father's unexpected death. He passed away, and then shortly thereafter, she tried to take her own life. And it turns out that she was suffering and dealing with extreme mental illness issues, and actually Sunshine was really trying to help her, too, in cleansing and things. But I just feel like it might have been a bit, maybe a little bit. I mean, I don't know, but it just didn't quite work out the way we had expected for my mom. And so actually she's still here with us, and I'm still her primary caregiver. This is her on the right. And we are actively, I think Beverly mentioned about the elderly, working with her and getting her all the supplements and things she needs. Sherman worked with us a lot with her too, so that she can continue to live a vibrant, healthy life despite kind of what she's been through. And so all of this to say is that these experiences, these challenges, the untimely deaths and diseases around me further inspired me and amplified my spiritual journey. It gave me more ammunition, if you will, more motivation to continue to explore what it meant to be a more holistic being. And so essentially, the answer to that question I asked you guys about the one thing that could, forever change your health, wealth, and happiness is your soul and the development of your soul. And it actually is the main thing that will forever change your health, wealth, and happiness. And so as we think about the soul and your soul's journey, I want us to understand that our soul essentially is us. It's the me being. And you are at the center of everything in your life. And you are the easiest thing you can change in your life. And so this isn't about changing who you are fundamentally. It's really about returning back to your authentic self And as I was expressing to you guys, this is the journey I've been on since I graduated from Harvard. Actually, it's why I call my journey I went from Harvard to healing, because I felt like I had lost so much of myself 10 years ago. And I've been spending the past 10 years remembering myself and returning back to my authentic self. And we'll get more into this now when I talk about what exactly is soul development and understanding the soul within. And I use SOL instead of SOUL because the soul is deeply connected to our solar plexus chakra, and the solar plexus is our inner sun, if you will. And it's just as we have a sun that animates and gives life to the planet, we also have our inner sun, our soul, that animates and gives life to this physical body. And so essentially we want to understand the metaphysics of who we really are, of who you really are. And that's what we're going to do today. So here is a very beautiful image of sort of the elemental aspects of our metaphysical being. And we are, and it's called the Taurus woman, the Taurus man. And I always refer back to the woman because in my view, the woman is the original being. We all come from a woman. And so the Taurus energy essentially is a quantum force field, and it is constantly evolving. And this is a metaphysical substance that we exist in. And just so you understand what the word metaphysical means, a lot of people may have heard of it, may have not heard of it, but meta comes from a Greek word, and it means to go above or beyond. And physics, as we are more familiar with, represents the physical plane, the three-dimensional plane. So when you put the two words together, metaphysics or metaphysical, then you're invited to go above and beyond the physical existence. So what's beyond this physical? Well, everything, like so much is beyond this physical world. And this is why we're called beings of conscious light, light beings, beings of divine intelligence, connected directly to God, to Source. And essentially, through this direct connection to Source, we are and can be creatresses of our own reality. And that's something that I am hopeful that if there's nothing else that you can take away from this presentation, that you can truly understand that we can create our own reality. And we may not see it today, we may not feel it today, we may not think it, but we have to know it, know that we have the ability to create our reality. And I also wanted to show this for folks that's not an artistic expression. This is actually a measured depiction, if you will, of the human biofield, of the Taurus energy field. Other names can be called the Merkaba, or people say, oh, your aura, or the Sri Yantra. So this is actually evidence-based depiction of the field, the energetic field, the metaphysical field, the spiritual field that animates our heart energy, toroidal energy, and our physical body energy. And it's kind of like a donut shape, if you can kind of see that spherical donut shape. And essentially, everything starts with the heart. As y'all can see here, the toroidal energy, the smaller field coming from the heart, and the larger field emanates from our heart center. And so our heart, the powerful energies coming from our heart, has been scientifically measured to sometimes go as far as 5 miles from your heart. This is when people are like talking about like telepathy, or when you're thinking about someone and then they're across the world and they call you. This is really that kind of invisible kind of energy. And this electromagnetic frequency essentially arcs out from our heart and back in, like I showed you in that donut shape. And this field exists around every living thing. So whether it's trees, flowers, bugs, insects, animals, we all have this energy field that keeps us alive and amplifies us, this spirit energy. And it's the key to everything because our entire life is created by and from this energetic place. So essentially, when you're thinking about that, wow, like I have this energy field, and you have to know and trust that there's power in you. And essentially, that power comes from your heart. And so, compassion essentially, our love essentially increases our energetic capacity. So by learning and understanding the power of this toroidal energy, this heart power, we can achieve better clarity and deeper connections with ourselves and others. And we can use this connection to understand our soul's wisdom and guiding us to who we truly are. We can also use this energetic heart energy intuitively, what some people may call our inner voice, that sends information to our brain to help us make wiser decisions, more aligned, God-aligned decisions. And, this is, when we get past that brain thinking, when we tune into our gut, a lot of people say, listen to your gut, which is our first brain, then we're oftentimes able to make better choices. And then I kind of wanted to show you guys this map of consciousness. It actually was designed and created by Dr. David Hawkins. He actually has a couple books related to this. Map of Consciousness. He was a psychologist, a doctor in the 1970s. This is a very rigorous study of consciousness that he did for many years with statisticians and many other scientists, and they essentially were able to prove how our energy is directly connected to not only our emotions, but our view of God, our view of ourself, and our level of consciousness. And so it's not necessarily depicted here, but I can just share with you guys that something like 80+% of the people in the world are operating below the dotted line. So that means that most of us are living in a weak state consciously, and we are being controlled by and dominated by force, which I would think that most people can, agree with this. We have governments that are managed by armies and nuclear weapons. Most of our politicians are operating at a level of pride, so they are very quick to demean people and demand things of people and operate with hate and scorn to get things done. So we are generally operating at a very weak energetic state. And I have to just share with you guys, this was me. I know it to be true because this was me. When I came back to Houston, when I was showing you guys those pictures of me at Sunshines in 2019, I was deeply in grief. I had just lost my dad, who was my best friend. My mom pretty much lost her too, but she was still here physically, but mentally she was gone. So I was living in an extreme state of grief. So look at this on a scale, 75. So my life view, everything was happening around me was traumatic, tragic as fuck, you know what I'm saying? I really was not able to, I would say, make the wisest decisions about my life. I ended up having my son, and yes, he was a beautiful blessing, but I ended up partnering with someone who was very abusive, who to this day I still have a very difficult relationship with. It's not possible at all to co-parent. And so I was attracting experiences, I was attracting people into my life at this very low, weak level. And this is essentially why we find ourselves, particularly Black people, in what they call the cycle of poverty, the cycle of victimhood. Is when you're operating at these low vibrational frequencies, they actually get transferred to everyone around us, including our children. And so that's how we stay in these low cycles. It has nothing to do with white people. It has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with our own self-view. And this is something that I hope, too, that we can take away from this conversation is that we got to get over that race conversation, because the problems that exist in our community are not coming from anybody else but ourselves. And we have to learn how to start to take accountability, how to take responsibility for how we feel. It's just that simple. When we start to feel courage, look at that, y'all. Courage actually is the tipping point above the dotted line. And we start to have a process of empowering ourselves, of affirming ourselves. That's why we talk about the affirmations. I believe in myself. I love myself. I am strong. I am capable. I am stable. I am secure. You know, I'm rattling off these affirmations because I've been saying them for so many years. But I mean, I still to this day have so many affirmations that I speak over myself because it is about me. My life, my success, my journey is about me. My energy, I control. And so when we look at with higher levels of consciousness like love, um, that is something someone like Albert Einstein was according to Dr. David Hawkins, Albert Einstein was operating at a level of love. And he was considered, as we all know, a genius. He was able to create all kinds of equations and opportunities and things for the world, and Tesla as well. You know, so in order to operate at these higher levels, also Mahatma Gandhi was considered to also be operating sort of at this level of enlightenment. And so when we're looking at some of the people who, like Mahatma Gandhi, as we know, was able to stave off the entire British Empire for his country of India, that takes a high level of energy, a high level of influence. And he didn't have a lot of money. Y'all know he just sat there and starved himself and meditated. So, you know, if we really want to make change for ourselves and the world, we would have to look at our ability to manage our energy. And so I want to stop there. Do people have any questions about this? I know I've been talking kind of strong. I just wanted to open up the floor for people to ask questions or make comments.
I want to say something, but I want people to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love this map. We had someone that shared this a while back, and the thing that baffled me was that love was not at the top. I thought love was like the it. And then when I saw, okay, there's the one, or the joy, the peace, and the enlightenment above that, I'm like, oh, wow, how do you get to that? So I find this very fascinating. I love how this has the God view, life view, level, scale, emotion, and process. This is awesome. I hope you guys all can see this because, and I'll have a copy of this on GroupMe so you could see it. But it has the order at the very top. The level is enlightenment, and it goes all the way down to shame as the lowest. And you would think like anger and hate
This call is
and
no
all
longer
that.
being recorded.
You would think hate and all of that would be at the lowest, but shame is the lowest.
Lowest.
That is so interesting.
And yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think that so many people do experience shame. And honestly, like, I just share my own personal story around it because I when I was beginning this journey, I had not only a lot of grief, but a lot of shame. And that shame sometimes comes from our experience with the church. And I grew up in a Catholic church. And in a Catholic church, it's really kind of centered around sin and having to always live in a state of repentance and asking for forgiveness. And it essentially keeps us in essentially a state of humiliation and shame because we are constantly seeking external approval. And that couldn't be furthest from what God desires for us. You know, and I feel like this is often experienced in church culture around being shamed for this or shamed for that or whatever, sins that we may have quote unquote committed. You know, there is never a way of coming out of it, And so I think that also, that deeply resonated with me. I'm glad you brought that up because shame is a space that I existed in for a long time.
Yes, that's a good point. And then us as parents,
yeah,
a lot of times we'll put shame on our children.
Yes, we even say shame on you. We say shame. Yes. So we have to watch our words too. Okay, well, I feel like this is a nice time to move into our exercise. So what I have created is what is called an energy wheel. And where your focus goes, energy flows. And I know everyone says this. Even Beverly mentioned Joe Dispenza says it. We know Tony Robbins says it. But, I mean, all these people say it, but really what does it mean, okay? So essentially, if you guys have, like, a pen and paper, I would encourage you to pull out your pen and paper, your journal, or if you're on your phone, if you want to pull up, like, your notes on your phone, and you can just kind of type some notes on your phone, because this exercise right here is going to require a little bit of writing and contemplation. So for the first round, we know there's 24 hours in a day, so you do the math. That's 168 hours in a week. So essentially, I want you to take a moment, and I have a document here, and I'll just read it out for you guys that are just listening. I want you to list all of the significant activities that you engage in on a weekly basis, and I want you to note how much time you spend participating in these activities. And essentially, when you're noting this time, the numbers at the end got to add up to 168. And so make sure that you do that. And so I'm going to list some potential activities, but feel free to add to it or take away some. But some of the weekly activities could be like working. I mean, many of us work. Sleeping, of course, we have to sleep. Time spent with your family. Time spent doing spiritual work or faith-based work. Time with your community activities, community service, how much time per week. There could also be exercise. How much time do you spend in the gym or going for walks or doing yoga or stretching? How much time per week do you spend on your self-development? Now, I think a couple of you have mentioned you do affirmations, you write in your journal. And then how much time do you spend cooking healthy meals or eating out for dinner or ordering food for dinner? How much time do you spend eating? And then the last activity that I have listed here is how much time do you spend like watching TV or entertainment, like going to the movies or going to bars or going to lounges or going to shows, concerts. So I just want you to take some time. I'll give you guys like 5 minutes or so to just like write out all the activities that you engage in on a weekly basis and put the number of hours you spend doing each of these activities per week. All right, so you guys can continue to work. Don't feel bad if you're still working, because this next piece is still related to what you're working on now in terms of allocating the hours. And it essentially is an assessment of how you are spending your energy. And as you're, looking and reflecting on your activities, ask yourself, how would you say you're feeling after looking at how you spend your time on a weekly basis? All right, like it sounds like Beverly is a little bit surprised. Are you a little bit annoyed? Are you happy with how you're spending your time? Really just sit with how you feel after you kind of look at how you spend your time on a weekly basis.
Hmm.
And the next question is essentially if you are dissatisfied or if you aren't so happy. If you aren't so happy with how you're spending your time, what are some things that you would like to see change? Essentially, what would you spend your time doing in light of the changes you want to see? Essentially, if you were to free up time in a particular category or a particular activity, how would you maximize or how would you use those hours differently? So as you're thinking about that, I want to invite you essentially to go back to that list and take a moment to review some of your changes and reassess, reallocate, rework the activities that you would actually like to be engaged in on a weekly basis. along with how much time you would like to spend doing them. So essentially take what you just did, writing out what you already feel like you're doing, and then based on your assessment, change it up. Like, do you want to be sleeping more? Do you want to be spending more time with your family? Do you want to spend more time in spirituality, spiritual work, faith-based work, self-development? Do you need more time walking outside, exercising? So essentially, I want you to start creating like your dream week. Like, how would you allocate if you have your 168 hours, what would you like to be doing on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, that feels most aligned with you? And I'll give you guys 5 minutes again to just create essentially your dream week schedule, weekly schedule. Okay, well, moving on, let's now create what I call the energy wheel. So now that you have a better idea of how you would like to spend your time on a weekly basis, let's create essentially a visual of what your week should feel like. So essentially the energy wheel provides a focal point for all the amazing experiences and all the amazing feelings and opportunities you would like to invite into your life. So essentially taking everything all the activities that you want to be doing that bring you joy, I want you to draw a circle and put all of them inside of the wheel. Or if you're not, having a piece of paper, if like you're on your phone, just kind of highlight or star all the activities that bring you the most joy. And I want you to actually write a one-word feeling associated with each of those words. So for me, I just have an example here. I love my early morning routine. I wake up every morning and I do my meditation. I talk to God. I cry with God. Whatever it is that I'm feeling, I need that time to myself. And it's non-negotiable. And the feeling that I have from that early morning routine is it brings me peace, So also, I love sunshine. I love good quality food. So for me, cooking at home, buying my organic, fruits and vegetables and snacks and my gluten-free this and that, I love good quality food and I love to cook at home. And why? It makes me feel wealthy, not just healthy. It makes me feel wealthy. And so essentially I just put all these things that I love inside the circle and how they make me feel. And then all the things, the activities that no longer serve me, so like some of the stuff we might have had in our first list that we, don't really align with or maybe don't bring us so much joy, write that on the outside of your circle. Or if you're on your phone, just, separate those things from your list and write the feelings that are associated with those things. So for me, fast food, it's like not even a thing anymore for me. But if I'm forced to eat like really trash food, like it makes me feel sick. Honestly, it makes me feel guilty. It doesn't give me good feelings. If I'm working too many hours, if I have back-to-back days where I'm not allowing myself space to breathe, it makes me feel frustrated. It makes me feel annoyed. Like my son, he irritates me more. So really start to write feelings that are associated with those things that you want to remove from your life. And essentially, the purpose behind this particular aspect of the activity, the wheel part, is when we start to associate feelings with our activities, then we can start to align more with the feelings in our lives, like how Ms. Vanessa was bringing up how she was trying to incorporate more joy into her life for the past 15 years and cultivating that. We're not going to always be able to have the early morning routine. I'm not going to always be able to have the home-cooked meal, but what can I have in my day that brings me peace? What can I have in that day that brings me joy? What can I have in that day that brings me wealth? Maybe instead of that early morning routine, it's just me When I go to the toilet, when I have that moment of solitude, I'm closing my eyes and I'm breathing. I mean, that's an extreme example, but sometimes that's how I be. Sometimes we don't have, everything doesn't work out the way we want it to every single day, but instead of allowing our schedules to dictate how we feel, we want our feelings to dictate how we feel. So we want to be always arcing towards and reaching for those higher feelings no matter what the circumstance. So say our flight gets delayed and we're sitting up at the airport longer than usual. Instead of being frustrated, this is what I would do. I go to the prayer room. Every airport has a prayer room, has a chapel or something like that. Go to the airport prayer room. Sit up in there by yourself. Be quiet. Breathe. Close your eyes. Get off your phone. So there are so many things that we can do in our lives that can start to, shift us from these feelings of being drained, unmotivated, frustrated, into higher feelings of peace, of love, of wealth, of restoration, by, finding these activities based off the feelings that we're searching for. And the reason why, this works is because it's essentially the difference between intentions and goals. And this really speaks to people who are very, kind of like coming from my background, and also probably many of you are very professional, high achieving, like you're on this call because you care about your life, your body, your family. So we're very good at setting goals, getting things done, and creating plans and sticking to the plans. But sometimes those goals and, the journey towards achieving those goals can take us out of the moment. And we aren't really emphasizing what we want to feel from achieving those goals. This is why so many people, make a lot of money and are still so unhappy, because it was just like, well, were you searching for happiness or were you just trying to make a lot of money? So, sometimes, the act of goal setting can actually make us feel like a failure when we don't reach the goal. So for me, I've been on a healthy fitness journey. I really wanted to lose weight, but when I started to really start to unpack my fitness healthy journey, I realized that my weight gain was from my muscle gain, because I was trying to be more muscular and stronger and healthier, so I'm actually going to gain weight. So am I a failure for gaining weight when I look better? So we have to really start to set intentions. So that's the difference between goal setting and intentions, because the intentions allow us to focus on the moment and recognize the values in what we're doing. And when we're in the moment and when we're focused on the values, it actually increases our energy. So remember back to that map of consciousness. We're not wanting to do things that deplete our energy, because it's connected. When our energy is low, our emotional state is low. Sometimes it goes that way. Sometimes it's not just us feeling the grief that gives us the grief. Sometimes it's us just being tired, and then we're going to feel sadder because we're tired, when actually we just need to rest. We just needed to take a nap. And that increases our energy. And so essentially our intentions really provide a roadmap and a reminder for how we should live out each day. So to the points we've been making before, when we're journaling and reminding ourselves, okay, I'm loved by the world. I think Miss Kathleen was saying, I love this world. This world loves me. It reminds us how we should be approaching our days. And essentially we are left more inspired and motivated to actually get our goals achieved and aligning better with our purpose. So when we're operating more from this space of wholeness, of love, of joy, back to Ms. Vanessa's point, then we actually can achieve our goals. We actually can heal ourselves. We actually can create miracles, and we're so much more successful and happier in the process. Instead of, saying, oh, I need to be cured of, this disease. I need to cure myself. Like focusing on that sometimes can make us even sicker. Like, I'm so sick, I have to do what I need to fix my sickness, versus just focusing on what can I do today to just be happy? What can I do today to just, feel like I love my life? And this is actually the process to get to the goal for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And I want to essentially kind of cap this this exercise with a piece of scripture from the Upanishads, which is a Vedic text from India, ancient Vedic text, and it reads, "You are what your deepest desire is. As your desire is, so is your intention. As your intention is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny." So everything, of course, starts with our desires, our wants, and our needs, but they are then amplified by our intentions, which then informs what we will, what we allow, which then informs our actions, and then, of course, our actions inform our destiny, our outcomes. So essentially, I want to leave some space for us all to kind of share out like how this exercise resonated with us, what we saw, what we learned about ourselves. I really want to hear from you guys.
This is so cool. This is so amazing. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, I need to plan out, exactly what I want to be doing. And one thing that I'm going to add with mine is the chart that you gave us. I'm going to look at some of those things like the enlightenment and the joy and the love, the ones that are at the very top, and incorporate some of those things that give me the enlightenment. Like for me, it was the spiritual, the things that I do spiritually, or the self-development. Those are the things that provide enlightenment to me. The love, things that I love, my family, enjoy being around my family and things like that. I will spend, add more time to those things. I love this exercise. And it's interesting because that is something that I've been working on, but I never looked at it like that. Like how you have the circle, and then you write down what each of those things that you do, what it gives to you. Like, the early morning routine, you put energize. Like for TV and entertainment, I only do that like to feel rested, like when I've had a rough day or whatever, and I want to just put on something that I enjoy watching. Depends on what I'm watching, though. If I put on something that's violent, then it makes me feel bad. So these are things that I'm going to pay more attention to in the future. I was a strict Christian, and some of these things would have offended me back in the day, and I just want to encourage those of you that may have felt offended, or if something was said that made you feel kind of strange or off or whatever, I just want you to put it on the back burner. All that you heard, just put it on the back burner and continue to explore and learn and, seek within yourself what God is trying to teach you and trying to show you. Like maybe some of this isn't for you, but maybe it is. So just continue to explore and seek and learn before you blow off anything that somebody says. Because I recall the days when I would, oh no, that's against what I believe. And I would just blow it off. And then now, looking back on that, I've made a full circle. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Somebody was trying to tell me that back then. And now that same thing has opened my whole world. It has changed my life for the better. So just to encourage all to just put things on the back burner. Don't blow everything off that you hear that just offends you or makes you feel a certain way. Because a lot of times if something really offends you really hard, then that means God is trying to tell you something. There's a message in there for you. Because a lot of times, a lot of my lessons have come out of things that I've been offended by. Like somebody that's doing something, it's that personality, it's like, oh, I can't stand that. I hate that. And then later on I realized I do the same thing. And it's like, wow, okay. So just keep that in mind.
So in a few weeks, I'm going to be launching my Soulful Accelerator. And essentially, it's what we explored today, but on an incredibly deeper level. And it's a 7-week program, so we meet once a week for about how long we're here, for about an hour, 90 minutes. And it's targeted to women who are ready to break free from their stress-free journeys to build what I, am arcing towards $1 million empire. And $1 million can be interpreted in so many different ways when you think about how we define wealth. And it's essentially me weaving sort of my Harvard training with my spiritual practices and creating a life process, a life practice that really can create a wealth legacy, not just for yourself but for your family. Because for me, I'm a mother, I'm a caregiver, I'm a friend, I'm a businesswoman, and I need to be whole and wealthy in all of those things, not just in my business. So it's an integration of emotional, spiritual, and professional development. And so I have some, testimonies here from women who've participated, all of them mothers, all of them high-achieving women, and how they've really been transformed by my work. And essentially, my program starts June 2nd, and there's 20 spaces available, and it's very much like this. It's live participation, and it also includes a one-on-one coaching call with me. And so yeah, I invite you all to join. So you can capture this QR code, or you can just email me or DM me, however you want to stay in touch. Beverly also has my information if you want to do a quick call to learn more about it. But yes, this is something that I'm very happy to share with you all.
Erin, I thank you so much, because you are an answer from God on this topic. Like I was telling the people earlier, this was the message on my heart all month long. Where your attention goes, the energy flows, where it follows. So this couldn't have been more on time. So I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. And I'm just so impressed by your experience and the things that you've done and traveled. And so thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you all too. This has been, like I said, a dream come true. Like, I used to attend these classes with my mom many years ago, and who knew that I'd be here today? So this is also an answer prayer from God.